Right. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming into the Seafood Time to watch this 30 minutes of my show. Now, I have a very simple information that is showing on the screen now, where it has a bunch of data, crunching numbers and so on. So let me just zoom in and have a look. These are very simple data where you are working on every day. So I didn't talk about cleaning up the data because Saiful had done the job very well. Now I'm just going to continue from here, assuming that this is what we have in our table, in our data, and how are we going to make them become dynamic, right? So this is where I'm going to come in. I'm going to put in some formulas where if I'm going to add on a few more information in my database, I would like all this total which is outside. Now I would like you to have an imagination now that this whole information here is basically in a different worksheet. Right? We can cut and paste this over to another worksheet later and see how it works. Huh? But later we will just view it next to each other and you can see what are the things that I have written here. So the first thing I want to talk about in this example here is something that I believe everyone here should already know, which is I want to know what is the total. Very simple, we just click the auto sum. Now you can do that, or you can do that very quickly by just actually highlighting the whole set of data here and just click auto sum. That will do the trick. You don't have to do one and then pull down. You don't have to do that. Just again, I think it's a bit too fast. Now you just highlight all your data, just click the auto sum once, and there you go. All the data is already populated accordingly. Yeah? Let's take a look at the reference they are using. Yep, this one. See, they are going to 7. This is 8. This is 9, and the next one is 10. So I'm going to be adding some row 11, 12, 13, 14 later on. So what I'm going to do in this, following the data that I already have, I'm going to find out what is the grand total of this particular information here. So let's take a look. I'm going to put equals to sum. Now this is what a lot of people do, right? They just highlight that range. All right, got it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up a formula text here for this cell so that you can see the movement of the particular formula. It's like E5 to E10. That's what I was using just now. E5 to E10. So the function formula text is used to show the formula inside the cell. So I just a bit lazy. I do not want to come here and show you each time. So I put it up here so that you can have a look. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I want to use the grand total, not by reference now, by name. So I'm going to highlight this. I'm going to call this range. I highlight all this. I'm going to call this one as amount. Now I purposely use a different name. I know this is called total. I just use a different name here, amount. So this is called amount for this range now. And I'm going to write the formula, the same formula, equal to sum amount. So it still gives me the same answer. So I'm going to put this. Alright, so look at the formula, it's the same. Now I'm going to reserve this later. I'm going to reserve this a little bit later. I want you to see the reference a little bit different later. So I'm going to tell you that the dynamic reference of it, how do we do it, right? So what is going to happen next here is that if I add in new data, here, now let me just be a bit lazy. I just copy this first two record, make a copy, and I push it down here. Do you see any difference in the answer? The answer is no, right? It's still E5 to E10. You see that? They are stuck with this range. See? They're stuck with this range. You see that selection? Yeah. It will be still stuck until E10. It will not include the new record that is given here. Now I'm going to remove them. They are not very good. So I would like to introduce a function to everyone that is, I believe, is a little bit classical. It's quite a classical function. which is called offset. Right, the function is called offset. This function. Now let me just do it like I'm actually writing a formula, but I put an apostrophe in front. So what do they need in the offset function? Now in the offset function, what they are going to ask you is, where is your starting cell? Your starting. Now let me just put it in layman language. Starting cell. Your starting cell can be only a single cell. It cannot be a range of cells. It can be only one cell. Now, to begin with, the function offset, as the name suggests, is actually to move your starting cell somewhere else. So that's the purpose. Besides that, offset will also be able to help you make a range of cells. So you have to define what is the height and what is the width. So I will talk about that in shortly. So the first thing you need to tell them is your starting cell. Where are you starting? So if you are starting somewhere and you want to move it, then how many row do you want to move? Then followed by how many column you wish to move. So row, as in like if you are moving it down, then it's a positive value. But if you are moving it upwards, then it's a negative value. So you can put a positive or a negative number in that case. It is a number. Column, in that case, they are moving left or right. So if you're moving to the right, it's a positive number, but you're moving to the left, it's a negative number. So it depends on where's your starting cell. Okay. Now, comma, that's where comes in the important information that I want to share with you. So we are going to use the offset to find out how many records are there in total that I want to use it for my sum. Now, this is a very classic formula that you can still use and it still works. I'm going to give you a few examples how you can actually become a very good formula. Now, the next thing that you need to tell them is the width. How wide is your selection? Is it? So, I think I made a mistake. It's not the width, it's the height. Yeah. How tall is your selection in the first place? Right? Suddenly it just kicks in. All right. Now, how tall? When you say how tall is your selection, that means that's going to be like how many rows. Now, I always mixed up with width and height in some cases. When I want to explain, then I realize, hey, I made a mistake. So it's like the height. So that is how many rows. Right? Then lastly, the width. Now, both this height and width comes with a default value. It's 1. Both both row and column, they come with a default value which is 0. So these are some of the things that you're going to write later. It looks complicated, but after a few practice, you will like it. You will like this formula. But yeah, we're gonna see. I'm going to show you all the tips here, but you can choose the easiest one to use. Right? This is not the easiest, of course. This will be the hardest. I'll start with the hardest. So this is where you are going to use this formula. But I'm going to write this formula somewhere hidden. Somewhere hidden. Now, what I mean by somewhere hidden is that I'm going to write it inside here, the word amount. I don't want to write it inside this formula here, which I can do. Alright, so I'm going to do this now in front of you. So I say equals to sum. Now I'm going to write offset, and I'm going to tell them, please start here. Start at E5. Right, start at E5, comma. Now, since I'm already at that position, that total position, then I don't have to move it. So I'm going to put there 0, 0, comma. Then what about the height? Okay, the height is how many rows. Now, I'm not going to come here and say, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I'm going to put a 6 here. Now, this will defeat the purpose of writing the function anyway. So this is where I'm going to embed a function here. Right? I'm going to put it into a count function. So why I'm using the count function? Because I want them to count only the numbers. Right? Only the numbers. So therefore, I'm going to count, open a bracket. I'm going to start from here, E5. Now, let's just say I anticipated that my number of rows will not exceed 500. So I'm going to put there. Now, if you say yes, it's going to be more than 500, then put 5,000. If 5,000 is still not enough, 50,000. Is it enough? Not enough? 500,000. Is it enough? Now, you cannot put 5 million, of course, because the maximum is 1 million rows. So now I'm not going to make that big of data. I'm just going to make like 50 will do. Then I'm going to close it. Now what's happening here is they are going to count from E5 to E50. How many cells are there in this range contains number, because I'm using count. Yeah, I'm using count. So that's count means I'm going to count numbers. So I'm going to put a close bracket and then comma. Now the last one is the width. My selection, how many columns are there? Just one. So I'm going to put 1. Now if I don't put the 1, I'm actually quite okay because the default value is 1. Alright, so I'm going to close it. I'm going to complete the formula like this. Close bracket. Let's see if I can get the answer 1287668D. Yeah, I'm still going to get that. Now the formula looks a little bit too overwhelmed, right? The formula looks a little bit too overwhelmed for many people. Why you do a sum then you have an offset inside? So to avoid any query, what we can do is that we use the name for that range and we use the name to represent this formula. So let me write this formula one more time. So I'm going to this thing called the formulas name range. So I'm going to write the formula one more time. Let me just pull this one up a little bit. So amount. So I'm going to highlight this. Equal. Equal what? Of set. Now the way you're going to write it here is the way that I wrote it down there just now, but this time I'm not going to type in the cell. I'm not typing in any of the cell. I'm going to use my mouse to do the selection. So I'm going to click on E5. You notice when I do that, it actually comes up with Excel reference E5. Excel reference is my worksheet name followed by the cell itself. So I'm going to put a comma. Then I'm going to put 0, 0, comma. Now why is it that I'm going to put that 20 in here? Is because I'm going to tell them start from E5, don't go anywhere. 0 row, 0 column. So they are not going anywhere. So that's what I'm planning to do. Now the next thing that is going to happen is I want them to do the counting. Remember I was writing the function called count. So I count. So I'm going to start from, now open bracket, I'm going to start from E5. So again, let me zoom in, let me show you. I say count, open bracket, then followed by E5. Now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a colon so that it will also, oops, sorry, let me just do this again. So E5, then I quickly put a colon and it will say E5 to E5. Remember I just put 50 just now? So it's the same thing that I'm doing earlier, right? E5 to E50. So if you think 50 is too little, you can put 500 or else 5,000 or 50,000 or 500,000. It's just up to you. I'm just going to stick with 50 so I don't have such a big number. Then put a close bracket, comma, 1. Now this is the exact formula that I have written out here. Right, so let me check if my formula has any issue. Now when you come here, you want a name to represent the formula. You just check if the formula works. Let's click the check button here. If there's a pop-up, that means something is wrong somewhere. So it's quiet. Kudos, we got it done. So same formula that we have written. So I'm going to make a copy of this. Make a copy of that. I'm going to paste it out here soon. So let me just put it up here. Yeah, this one. Put an apostrophe with that. So that's the formula that I have written now. I'm going to show you all the formula. I'm not going to hide anything from you guys. Sorry, I pressed the wrong thing. Yeah, this is the formula. It's the same thing. Right, this one and yeah, this is the formula I use for the amount. Same thing, same thing. Okay, now it's a lot shorter when I write it out here, but when I write it inside, it comes with the reference. Now the good news is this: if I go to another new worksheet now, right, it can be anywhere outside here. This is what I'm going to equals to sum amount. I get the same answer. You see that? I don't have to write equal to sum offset. Then I go there and click, enter, and I get the answer. Now I'm only using the Okay, let me show you the formula text here. I'm only using the same function that I wrote just now, sum amount. So I'm making it very dynamic now, where I can use this formula anywhere in my workbook, the word amount, because amount is not represent a range of cell, but it's actually representing what do you call it, a formula. The word amount representing a formula. So why, Kelvin, why are you making life so difficult? It's not difficult. The setup looks like a lot of work, right? But you will love it later. Now, let's take a look at all these numbers now. Let's take a look at all the numbers. Okay, all these numbers that I'm using. So if I highlight two rows here, copy, I put it down here now, and I pull down this answer here. Right? This is actually a formula. I pull it down. You notice everything else changes. Right? So except for this one, it will still be E5 to E10. Yeah, you see this? This is still E5 to E10, but I added new item here. The moment there is a total, you will notice that this is dynamically changing. So the amount is actually has an offset function. The sum itself has an offset function. So that will help. That will help. All right. So these are some of the things that you can do. Just a bit of it. Now I started off with something so difficult. You will kill me later when I show you how easy it can be. But yeah, I just want you to understand this one. It's a very classical kind of a formula that you can use. I call this classical because I don't use it anymore. Now, why? Because there are easier way for us to do that. This is how we do it last time, long time ago, when the new feature wasn't populated yet. Now let's talk about writing the formula for online, direct, and retail. Let's talk about that. So let's drop this for a while. We'll still come back to this. Definitely all this is going to be in effect, but I just want you all to see what else we can do. Now I'm going to name, okay, let me just remove this set here. I'm going to name this column as direct, this column as online, this column as retail. So all I need to do is just highlight the title with the 6 value below them. I just go to this formula and I choose create from selection. So I'm going to use the top row, which is the direct, online, and retail, as the individual name for the column. So that's what I'm doing. Now when I do that, if I go to my name box, I will see direct, online, and retail. So if I go online, they tell me this is the range. If I go to the direct, I go to retail. Yeah, that's how they actually select the names, right? So I already done that. Then I want to come here. I want to know what is the total for online. So I put that equals to sum online. That's it. And when I use the name online, it works here, and it will give me this answer. So if I put here equals to sum, I'm going to put in the name here, which is called direct. Now if I use my mouse to highlight, I can still get it. It's called direct. Now this range of cell will forever has a name, right? So it's called direct. I can do it that way, or I can just put here sum retail. That's it. That I have all my total done. But this total here, I'm not going to write any offset for that matter. No, I'm not going to go through that hassle again. So I'm going to just leave them alone. So what happened if I add in new data? Now I want them to change as well. Now here comes the magic. Here comes the magic. Now Sifol has already released the magic to you, but I'm going to extend from what Sifol has said. Now I'm going to convert this information that I have on my left, this table, into a table. Now I'm going to use this keyboard shortcut here. It says there Control T. You can go to insert table. So I'm going to use Control T. Right? So I'm going to do that. All right. So let me press Control T. So they say that you are going to convert A4 to F10. And my table has a header. Yes, my table has a header. So that's how it goes. Now for me, I do not really like to make my table so colorful. I will just put it back to none. I'll just leave it like it's normal, and I do not want any of those filter because that's not my subject matter at the moment. I'm not going to use that, so I'm going to take away. Now everyone will look at this like, oh, that is back to normal. Now it's back to normal by formatting, but this information now is no longer a range, it's actually a table. So when I click this, there is a table design up here. I'm going to name this from table 1. I'm going to change it to another name. So I'm going to call this one as sales data. Oops, I think I must have my caps lock on. Okay, let me remove that. So I'm calling it sales data. So this table now is called the sales data, right? So now let me show you a few advantages of doing this. Now my purpose here is that I want to write a percentage, and what I have done is I already put in the formatting here called %. So let's see how it works. I'm going to write my formula in F5. That's it, no? F5. Look what happened when I complete my formula. When I click this equals to E5, but when I click it, it doesn't show E5, but it shows there add total. That means you are actually inside the table and you are actually using the title called total. And you're going to divide it by this grand total here. This grand total. Okay, this grand total. I'm not even using the rest, I'm using this, which is E5 to E10. I'm using this. So let's press, let's make sure this one is locked, because when it copy down, we want them to stay. So we're going to copy, and I'm going to press enter. Now I'm not going to copy it down, but this is going to be done automatically for me. So you'll notice that it's actually referring to the same total because I lock it, right? I lock it. Oops. Now this is the total. You notice that it actually just fill it down. I don't have to fill it down myself. I only write one formula. Now let's look at the overall total here. Can you all pay attention to all this total that I have? All this total, this total, the direct total, the retail total. I'm going to make another copy of this. Okay, another copy of this. No, without the total. Copy. Then I come down here. I'll paste it. You notice that the formula will automatically fill up, and the answers here changes. Now, if you missed it, let me just show you again. This is 128766. Okay, look carefully. 128766. And the range is E5 to E10. So let me just delete this and copy and paste again. Just copy this and paste. Now you notice now the range is no longer E5 to E10 but E12. That's why the total changes as well. Right, so that's how powerful a table can be to make your entire work here dynamic. So what you need to do, you just have to change this information into a table, and the rest is taken care when you extend your new record. However, not all situations your bosses like you to change this into a table. Not all situations you are allowed to change into a table. Therefore, I took the liberty to teach you the offset first. If you can remember the offset, good. Otherwise, you can watch this recording, which is going to be in the Sifu time. You can watch this over and over again. All right. Now, I want to show you something extra here. All right, something extra here. Now, what happened if I have a list of names of all the cars? So I have the cars, right? So C-A-R-S, cars. Now, if I type here like Toyota, I have like Proton, I have like Honda. So there will be a few more, correct? There will be a few more items. Now I want to make this into a drop-down list. So I want to have a drop-down list. Okay, drop-down list. So when I want to build a drop-down list, this is what we normally do. We will go to the data, what if analysis, we'll drop a list. We tell them we want to have a drop-down list. Okay, and the source is just this one, this item here. So we just click OK. So let me just color this cell so that you know that this is the drop down list over here. So if I click this, I will have my Toyota, Proton and Honda. Now question, if I'm going to put in here another car maker, BMW, alright, I'm going to put in like Merc, right? What else? What else do I have? Maybe I'll put in there Daihatsu. Is that how I spell it? Yeah, that sounds better. Now Daihatsu and so on, right? We have. What do you think about the list? It doesn't expand, right? It does not expand. So I'm going to remove this. Right? I'm going to remove this. These are the three items that I have. So I'm going to press here and press Control T. You know what's Control T? And it has a header. Okay. Right. Now, let's take a look. If I put this as Toyota, Proton, Honda, if I come down here now and I put here BMW, let's see what happened in this list. I have my BMW. What happened down here? If I put in MERZ, then I'll have my MERZ. So the list continue and this list will expand by itself. Now, there's no reason for you to do so many things. Each time you have a new item in your list, you have to go back, come here and change all this yourself. No, you don't have to do that. Alright, take note, you don't have to do that. So you just have to start with the original list, then remove whatever that you have added. Just make sure that it start with the three lists that you originally have. You make that as a table, and then they will follow through every time you add on from there. Are we clear? So yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the table only. You're going to hear a lot of things about table very soon from my next colleague, Shabina.